trying to look bad right now in that ugly sweater, she just can't. So, please, give it up for Shanti Matthews.
You did look really good in your Christmas sweaters until the light just went off. But the light was supposed to go off, so that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate you telling me that I look good in a Christmas sweater. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing mine right now. But I do have one. Don't worry. Afterwards, I will put it back on. And I actually decided to rock the Christmas sweatshirt this year. Yes, thank you. So, I'm really excited about it. Like Nicholas said, my name is Shanti. I'm on staff with Crew, and I'm really excited that you guys are here tonight to celebrate Christmas with us. I think Christmas is really fun, so I'm excited that we get to talk a little bit about Christmas tonight. So we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. Tonight, I want to tell you guys a story. I want to tell you a story to remind you a little bit of what Christmas is really about. So as you listen, you may have noticed, again, lights are a little lower, things are a little different. Honestly, feel free to sit back, relax, and kind of let this sink in, let the story happen. Oh, wow. Yes. Takes instruction well. Satisfactory. Good job. Great. Okay, so feel free, honestly, to settle in, sit back. Feel free to close your eyes at certain points and just listen. At the beginning was God, the eternal, everlasting, and holy God. There were no plants or trees or rocks or buildings, but there was God. There were no animals to make noise, and there were no clouds to rain, but there was the Spirit of God, hovering, waiting over the nothing, waiting for the moment of creation. Because God was about to speak, and everything started happening. God called out, and the heavens separated from the earth. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The light split from the darkness, and the first day was born. God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together in one place." And suddenly, the water started churning, and dry land started to appear between the retreating oceans. Cliffs, mountains, beaches, they all rose up out of the seas. Next came green grass and trees, oak, maple, walnut, willows. Tiny, tiny little buds started to sprout into a rainbow of flowers. And all of creation was coming to life, and God was just getting started. Through the darkness came a great rush of energy as the sun and the moon found their place in the sky. Planets and galaxies and stars all found their homes against the velvety backdrop. God looked, and he saw that it was good. He turned back to the earth and said, "Let the waters swarm with the swarms of living creatures," and the waters rippled. Silver fish darted to and fro, and giant whales began to glide through the depths. Sharks cut their way through the waves, while little starfish hopped along the ocean floor. Next came a rustling and a great flapping of wings as birds took to the sky for the very first time. The whole sky lit up with color as a variety of feathers flew through the sky and found their homes for the first time in their tree perches. The ground was not about to be outdone, though. Hooves pawed the earth for the very first time. Giant cats leapt on fresh paws, and monkeys chattered to each other from among the trees. because he had made it, and it was beautiful because he was beautiful. The whole earth was humming with life now, and God had saved his best for last. God reached down and he breathed life into the first man and woman. Adam and Eve. He formed them in his own image, and he loved them like a father loves a new child. He took Adam and Eve and he placed them in a lush garden that had everything in it that they would ever need. And God walked. He walked in the garden with his children, and everything was perfect. But God had an enemy named Satan. Satan had been one of God's angels, but that wasn't enough for him. He wanted to be God. And he was angry. He was so angry that he wanted to foil the plan that God had. So Satan disguised himself as a snake, and he waited in the garden. Now God had told Adam and Eve that they could eat anything in the garden except for the fruit from one tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. One day, the serpent slithered up to Eve and asked her, "Did God actually say that you shall not eat from any tree in the garden?" And as he hissed out his questions, doubt began to creep into Eve, and the fruit began to look tastier and tastier. Maybe God didn't love her. Maybe God didn't want her to be happy. So she took the fruit and she ate. And then she gave some to her husband, and the snake's plan was complete. Suddenly, Adam and Eve realized that they were naked. In that one awful moment, things went awry. Pain, brokenness, death, and shame entered the perfect world that God had created. Adam and Eve felt naked and exposed, so they desperately sewed fig leaves together to make loincloths for themselves. But even though they were covered, Adam and Eve shivered as they felt the weight of the distance of being separated from God. With hands still sticky from the juice of the fruit, Adam and Eve heard the sound of the Lord walking in the cool of the day. And usually they would run towards the sound of God's voice. But today, when they heard God ask, "Where are you?" they hid. So God discovered them hiding, and he called them out. And soon the story was tumbling out of them. The snake, the doubt, the choice. And God's heart was broken. And he looked at them. Anger, sadness, disappointment, and compassion all mingled together in his gaze. God looked at them and he knew what had to be done. He addressed them each, the serpent, the man, and the woman, and told them the consequences of their actions. God was grieved, but justice had to be done. So God spoke, and the world was changed forever. But before he was quite done, God had some special words for the serpent. He said, you, for what you have done, you will spend your life slithering on the ground, looking for someone to hurt. But your greatest enemy will be the child of this woman. One day, there will be a baby boy who you will hate, and you will try to destroy. You will injure him, but he will grow up, and he will destroy you. And there it was. Hope. A glimmer of the plan. The serpent may have won this round, With sadness, God did what had to be done. He looked at his children and he told them that they must leave the home that he had made for them. Because they had disobeyed God, they could no longer live in the garden. Adam and Eve shrunk smaller and smaller as they realized what they had done. Their hearts filled with shame. But before they left, God did something amazing. He called forth an animal, one that he had loved and had created, and he killed it. He slaughtered it, and out of the animal's skin he made clothes for Adam and Eve, because he knew that fig leaves would not be enough for them. Adam and Eve were paralyzed as they saw the blood spill forth, and the world saw its very first death, because God knew that blood would have to be shed to cover his people's shame. So, time went on. The earth filled with people. Generations and generations of men and women came and went. Most of them forgot all about God, but still had this quiet little longing in their hearts. Soon after Adam and Eve left the garden, God would establish a special relationship with a people called Israel. And he would continue to remind these people of his promises. Hundreds of years would pass, and the Jewish people would endure sin and strife and takeover. But with God as their guide, they waited for their rescuer. Around 700 BC, a man of God named Isaiah declared to the people that someday these words would be true. Unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end. Other men of God said that this rescuer would suffer, that he would perform miracles, and he would come to bless the whole world. And so they waited. Time marched on, and they waited. They waited for the sign of the Messiah. Then, one day, when no one was really looking, an angel appeared to a teenage girl named Mary. Mary was afraid of the angel, but the angel said, "Mary, do not be afraid, because God is very happy with you." The angel Gabriel told Mary that she would give birth to a baby boy who she should call Jesus. He would be the son of the Most High, and the Lord God would give him the throne of his father David forever and ever. Mary was